we all heard about this communique from the final communique from the from ECOWAS, the proposed special tribunal, and the assessment of the presence of economic in the Gambia. But the reason is that's so much the communique tells you, but it did not tell us anything in detail. And unfortunately, Gambians have not been discussing this issue in detail, as important as it is. And my concerns are ECOWAS is not a credible partner to be relied on. The only time they become credible is when they are held to account or things have got to a level that they cannot ignore anymore. And my position with ECOWAS is they will always do what the incumbent wants. It's a club of gentlemen, and they work together to sustain each other, regardless of how bad they are. And I'll do a quick intro on this, based on evidence. We all know that we went on 22 years of dictatorship when ECOWAS was present, when the most horrendous crimes have happened in the country. Go and look at the history of ECOWAS, where they stand when those things happen. And one of the most, even a gruesome one, when ECOWAS nations, not only Gambians, ECOWAS nation citizens have been maimed, we all know where that ended up. But with the killing of the students and the extrajudicial killing, the witchcraft hunting, and every form of abuse, where did ECOWAS stand? And with all the elections, fraudulent elections, they know they are fraudulent. Where did they stand? Until Gambians came together and stand up, and they cannot look any other way than to confront. That's why they did something about it. That's a fact. If Jammeh had managed, and in fact, let me emphasize this, Jammeh in fact had money during the impasse to convince ECOWAS to take a position of negotiating for a unity government between the coalition and the, this is a fact not known to many people. It was only President Macky Sall that refuses for that thing to go through. And it was President Macky Sall that instructed Adama Barrow not to sign on any other form of agreement apart from Yaya Jammeh to leave the country and hand over government. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was another person who was skeptical of leaving Jammeh to power. This was the reason Yaya Jammeh contacted Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and went on recording Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. And if you listen to the communication, what Yaya was saying is, can you take this position back to the group and try to convince them? Yaya already knew he have won over Buhari. He have won over the other people in the team. It was Macky Sall and Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. And this was the reason the External Affairs Minister of Nigeria flew to Liberia and flew to the Gambia and next to Senegal. Go and look at the timeline. And you see, I forgot the name of the former Foreign Affairs Minister of Buhari that came and went to Senegal trying to negotiate this. Just to give you a bit of evidence of what we have on ECOWAS. But again, it was the same ECOWAS that watched over Macky Sall, disregard the constitution, disregard the laws of Senegal, and went on committing within the last 2 years of Macky Sall government all the crimes that dictators have committed. Disappearance, people finding dead bodies, in the streets of Senegal. And over 2,000 opposition party members been arrested and jailed for false charges. And in fact, going to the extent of banning a political party, the main opposition party, and tried everything to the extent of using mercenaries to gun down Senegalese citizens in the streets. ECOWAS never gave out a statement. When ECOWAS was forced to make a visit to Senegal, go and look at the compromise compromise communique they came out with. They have never held Macky Sall to account. And if PASTEF had not persevered and hold Macky Sall to account and Senegalese to account, Macky Sall would still be there. Macky Sall would have had the third term. It was because of PASTEF and the Senegalese that supported PASTEF stopped the carnage in Senegal and the undermining of the democracy of Senegal. It was not ECOWAS. Go and look at the reports. In fact, even the hypocritical France was more critical in the open than ECOWAS. Go and look at the EU, the American, everybody else was critical of Macky Sall, but not ECOWAS. But again, it is the same ECOWAS that have watched over constitutional coups, and nothing came out of it. As Alassane Ouattara of Ivory Coast went through a civil war and to try to rebuild their democracy. They had a constitution and everything. Ouattara disregarded the constitution and went for a third term. And he's still there, have never been condemned by ECOWAS. How can that person have any moral right or to sit on the desk and speak to Gambians or dictate what do we want? That's why we have to do it ourselves. We have to do it with them, but we have to make sure we hold them accountable. If not, this is all a strategy to maintain Barrow's government, and I'm going to provide the evidence. It's not only there. Guinea-Conakry, the reason they had a military coup is because of constitutional coup. Oh, even before, when the junta came in Guinea-Conakry and massacred people at the stadium, ECOWAS did little, and they would have got away with it if it was not for the other international community members. They would have got away with it, just as they got away with it in the Gambia. The junta got away with it, they would have got away with Guinea. Alpha Condé disregarded the two-term, killed people in the streets in order to run for and stole an election. What happened? ECOWAS watch it over. You think the change that is now, the mature change that is happening in Ghana is because of ECOWAS? No. It's because of Ghanaians. It's because of Ghanaians are standing up, making sure their constitution, their laws are respected. There's a rule of law. And they are changing and hoping for better. They are making sure there's a credibility in their democracy. They are making sure there is competent elections. That's the only way an opposition will win an election. It was not for ECOWAS. It's for Ghanaians. And the reason for Senegal today is because of Senegalese. It was not for ECOWAS. Now, let's look at it. Mali. The corruption and the human rights abuses in Mali, the manipulation of the system, the tribal mechanisms in Mali. Before the people rose up, for days, weeks, people were rising up, challenging the government president to resign. He refuses until the army came and overthrew him. You see, now they want to negotiate with the army. After the army had the leverage. Gambia, are we waiting for an army to overthrow Barrow? No. We should not allow any means of unconstitutional change of government. We should not allow that. It's not good for us. We have learned our lessons. Then let us organize to make sure we have a proper change of government, constitutional change of government. If we fail to hold Barrow accountable, fail to make sure our systems are right, our democracy is competent, our elections are competent, it's a recipe down the line for unconstitutional change. Either the people will rise up and the army will finish it up, or a stubborn group in the army will come and bastardize our country and take it over from Barrow. These are facts. We have been there already. Let us learn from history. Not only our mistakes, other people's mistakes we could have learned from, but we even had our own mistakes. Why are we waiting to make sure we do the right thing? The weakness of ECOWAS continue to today. Sierra Leone, the worst elections ever. After Sierra Leone, from a civil war, starting to evolve, building their democracy, The opposition winning elections, and that opposition today, Madi Bill, because of corruption, he went and robbed that elections, attacked the opposition headquarters with soldiers, and then next minute fabricated a coup in order to have ECOWAS to support him, to send ECOWAS forces to secure him. A country that have went through civil war. I'll give you the proof. Guinea-Bissau, a country that went through civil war, the country that started to build their democracy. Guess what? Omambalo Sissoho knew that he lost the parliament. What he did, he went and annulled parliament, dissolved the parliament, unconstitutional. He went and postponed the elections unilaterally. How can an executive do that and get away with it? What did ECOWAS do? I'll tell you. Let me, if you don't just mind, let me read this evidence from the communique itself to prove how lame ECOWAS is. ECOWAS said, you see, they said on the headline of democracy and good governance, in the case of Guinea-Bissau, it reads, the authorities take note of the postponement of the scheduled 24 November 2024 legislative elections since they and urge the political and institutional stakeholders to prioritize the ongoing inclusive dialogue to agree on the date for the conduct of parliamentary and presidential elections, as well as consensual framework and modalities for the conduct of the elections. They did not address the abuse of the constitution by the president. They did not address that. They are saying the stakeholders to come together to arrange for another elections. Now, if you allowed the executive to disregard the check and balances in democracy, disregard the rule of law, disregard the constitution, then you expect him to hold an elections and to make sure that those elections will be competent. This is what they do. Why? There's no reason for the president, to annul the parliamentary elections. No reason to postpone, to dissolve parliament and postpone parliamentary elections, because the only reason he's doing because he's weak. He has no support. There's no reason he should postpone the presidential election because he's weak. He has no support. That's why he came out and lied. Oh, I don't want to run again because my wife advised me not to run. And many gullible people, oh, you see, I said to you, it was a lie. He's corrupt to the core, and that's always a strategy as trying to drop something there to see, oh, he's not that ambitious. No, it's a lie. He knows that if he leaves power, he will be persecuted for the fake coup he created after going to bed with the cartel. For the fake coup he presented, and in order, again, just as Sierra Leone did, to get economic on the ground to protect him. And now this is the modus operandi for ECOWAS. It's always, create a false flag. Just as Barrow was trying to create a false flag, killing those police officers. Yes, Barrow and the NPP killed those police officers in order to create a false flag, to ban the opposition, and next minute, in fact, a state of emergency, and to prolong the state of economic, because of they know that their government was illegitimate, they have not won the elections, know that their government is unpopular, corruption have killed the country, they have sold all our assets. Today, Gambians are suffering. And he knows that if he leaves power, he will end up in Malta. This is the reason why. Now, this same government, this same ECOWAS, listen to what they said about Sierra Leone. On Sierra Leone, the authorities urge stakeholders to commit to the continued implementation of agreement for national unity and the recommendations of the tripartite committee in good faith, and to pursue and in resolving differences by the escalation tensions through peaceful and inclusive dialogue. Nonsense. It's the same repetitive message they said. Why didn't they hold Mother Biafra account? Undermining the democracy of Sierra Leone. Presented a fake coup, even trying to arrest the former president that had handed over power to him after 2 terms. This is what we have with ECOWAS. And we all go and listen to their take on our last elections, and go and compare to that what the EU have said. Gambia, the reason of pointing out this, facts is for us to wise up that ECOWAS is not our savior. They can only come as a genuine partners if we Gambians have raised that bar to ensure, our process of going through our governance, it's done right. They will always side with the incumbent, regardless of who it is, because it's a club. And these are done in many ways. I tell you, these are done in many ways. When ECOWAS sent a team, most of the team members are corrupt. Be the MPs, be the expert, or whatever it is, they are all corrupt. They are bought. And the incumbent will make sure the report they want, that's what's going to come out. Until you raise the bar. There are many ways. Most of those people they send are ECOWAS member countries. The executive in those countries would tell them. Gambian delegates will be dictated to. That's why you see the governments will always make sure MPs, just as Barrow did, and change the MPs from the opposition and put the NPP MPs to be in the ECOWAS parliament. That's what happens in other countries, most countries in ECOWAS. And if they send experts, they are all corrupt. They all can be bought for what they want. Now it's for us Gambians to make sure, and we'll have to look into this and make sure we participate in a way and manner, and not to rest on this. Now, wait on this. The other role is, I am going to name a very important person in what is happening here. Just as when Yaya Jammeh appointed Edward Singate, or supported or put Edward Singate because as Gambian representative to become the president of ECOWAS. Because Yaya Jammeh know that there was a joint enterprise of crime committed by him and Edward, then Edward is bound to do what Yaya Jammeh wants. It was a critical moment at Yaya Jammeh's life, and he wants an accomplice to be there. At present, we have Dr. Omar Toure, who is now an accomplice of Barrow. Recently, Dr. Omar Toure's wife, Aminata Toure, who was the Secretary General of the Barrow's administration, retired age 60. Now, they posted him to where? Ethiopia, to head the embassy at Ethiopia. That's because that's what the husband wants. Because she was irrelevant, because they could have just extended her time of service as Secretary General. They would have done that. But no, the husband knew that there's no influence for her there, because of Barrow have hold on to MOD Cisse, the Chief of Staff, and had made the position of Secretary General redundant, useless for that matter. Then they got a prominent position as a Gambia AU ambassador. And you know the AU works with ECOWAS just like this. This is giving them two profiles and obviously more contact and everything else. This is what happens in Barrow's administration. Whatever it does is to benefit certain people, nothing else. Now, this is the reason why. Today, I am telling you, and this is a fact, The foreign affairs policy, in fact, especially for West Africa, is controlled by Dr. Omar Touré. It's not Tangara. Because Barrow have found out how useless Tangara is. Now Tangara is just there for now. That's why Tangara was looking for a way to jump to something else. Just as, Batambidu looked for a way to jump to something else. Because, you know, when Barrow find out that Batambidu used his girlfriend to sell some of the Jammeh assets, and Barrow did not get the amount of kickback he was expecting in the kickback. Because of Batambidu went and introduced Fatou Cissé, who is now the wife of Batambidu, to Barrow as a friend and a business partner, a friend, not even a business partner. And Barrow later found out that they were dating. And actually, part of the properties was gone to Fatou Cissé. Then Batambidu jumped. That's why he jumped. That's one of the reasons he jumped. Now, he have found out that Tambedu, the External Affairs Minister, is useless because of they have pointed out to look part of the failure of OIC because of the foreign ministry was not strong. Foreign minister was not strong to mobilize this and that and that. And if you want to clash with Barrow, it have to be about this. Just as his clash with Tambedu because of this. But Tambedu robbed him of Jammeh's assets. And the same thing with Tangara being useless, could not raise the money, the resources that was needed, so that he would benefit from it. And I can tell you, in 18 to 2 years, Dr. Omar Touré, and take this note, unless something change, he will be if Barrow continue, he will be the next External Affairs Minister. He is doing everything to please Barrow, and he's the one coordinating this delaying tactics, coordinating this to sustain Barrow's government. Take this to the bank. Take this to the bank. Now, that's why we have to understand the conflict of interest here for Dr. Omar. This is the same reason I gave. This is the reason why Jammeh had to put Edward Singate as the decision. And to show you how useless ECOWAS was to accept Edward Singate. Someone they knew. They knew. ECOWAS had their intelligence, they knew the profile, or if they did not, they should have known the profile of anyone taking a senior position in ECOWAS, especially the president of ECOWAS. They knew that he was a junta member, and they could have found out what happened under his during this time as a junta member. Then Gambia, if we cannot see these things as weakness of ECOWAS, and make sure we have competent leadership in the opposition, competent leadership in the Gambia intelligentsia, to make sure we have good governance, we are failing our people. The issue here is, now let's think about this tribunal. If you read on the tribunal, let me try and read some extract of the tribunal. If you read on the tribunal, they proposed, they did not tell you when. There's no timeline for this tribunal, it's just proposed. And I can tell you something here. This tribunal is not likely to happen in 3 years. Let me emphasize, it's not likely to happen in 3 years for many reasons. Because Barrow doesn't want this to happen. He doesn't even want it to happen. Barrow doesn't even want it to happen. His administration doesn't want it to happen. And if you don't know the reason why they don't want it to happen, I said, look at it again. The entire government of Barrow is made of the perpetrators of crime. One way or the other, they have supported a government that committed those crimes. And if they are not held accountable, legally, they will be held accountable morally. And the people they're going to hold accountable legally, they are their comrades. They are their family members. Aissatou Njie Sedi, nephews are close to Barrow. The Jigo family, the Jigos, they are like this to Barrow. You think Barrow will want their auntie to be prosecuted, or their auntie to continue to be disgraced in court of law? For court of public opinion? No. Sana Sabali twin brother is like that to Barrow. And the list will go on. The reason today Sol Baji is walking the streets of Gambia because of the interlinked connections Barrow had with Sol Baji. To the extent of now Sol Baji in a gainful employment doing whatever he likes, as if nothing have happened in that country. And we all heard where the junglers, through the channels, junglers were taking their orders. Now we have the Bora Police and everybody won. You think that government is serious? The only reason Yankuba Ture got prosecuted because he was stupid to fall for Edward Singate and Jammeh telling him, don't say anything, you don't listen. And after Edward came and testified. If he had testified, he would have been free. Until waiting for a court that will not be determined if Gambians are not ready to determine that. Because as if we are just waiting for ECOWAS to do things for us, or as we just waiting of Barrow to deliver. Barrow never deliver if we don't hold it accountable. Unfortunately, the big victim supports are kind of a really disadvantage right now. Let's put it that way, to put the pressure required. They need the support. They need the support from moral Gambians to make sure we hold this government accountable so that we can see this trial happen. If not, two things will happen. The trial will be delayed further. And when they happen, I can tell you, when even people are sentenced, if Barrow continue in government, Barrow would pardon these people and they will walk the streets again. Because the longer it takes, the easier for Gambian to conform to this false place empathy. Because of we are people who easily forgets, and our empathy are not aligned to people that we are supposed to be empathizing, the victims. But the perpetrators of crime, it's been a long time, let's not do a reconciliation nonsense. For how many years today? If he cared about the victims, why the victims are not compensated? He can rally $1 billion in a drop of a hat to buy vehicles for 2 days fun sum. But still would not work to make sure the victims are compensated. And I'll tell you this. And again, this is another reference here. And Sierra Leone had a special tribunal in Sierra Leone itself. They went through a civil war. And if this Gambia government said that it's not safe to hold trials in the Gambia, then tells you how ineffective that government is. Sierra Leone went through a civil war, and the special tribunal was taken in Sierra Leone, and they delivered. Do you know why? Because of the government that was in place, where the victims of the misrule, the victims of the human rights abuses and the crimes committed on them. That's why they had the political will to do it. Politicians are only, competent when they are held accountable. In the Gambia, the perpetrators of crime are the one governing us. The speaker, deputy speaker, external affairs ministers, and so on and so on, and all those others, surrounding Barrow, the CDS, and others. That's why we are not seeing the justice that we expect to see. Again here, why did I say 3 years minimum? There are so many considerations in starting a tribunal. Many considerations, logistics. Now, the government is not their interest to be seen done. They want to move it as much as possible. Now, if they are not held accountable, they were free to do that. All they do is to manage our expectations. And this communique is managing our expectations. And if you expect Mr. Brody and others, Trial International and others, they are organizations who work on money. It's a project for them. It's not that they had empathy. It's not about empathy. It's about they will jump from one to another because they are funded. That's how they keep their job going. I'm not saying that they don't have a good heart somewhere, but I can say they are not going to do it for us. They will work with us to do it. But if we sit down and just wait for their communique, wait for the government, we are not going to move from here. It will take the people of Gambia to do that. And the quicker to do that is to get rid of these people out of government and put a competent government that will have empathy of the people and that will respect rule of law and the rights of people. That's the only way. Now, why 3 years? One, the political will not be there. There's so much to be done. Now, if the government is to do things that they don't want to do, but they have to do, they'll have a way of doing this. Now, funding have to be sought. And ECOWAS cannot seek funding without the participation of Gambia. Gambia will have to participate. Gambia have to put forward a lot of stuff, in suggestions, a lot of proposals in order for funding to be done. And the political will to chase that funding. One. The other logistics. Gambia, as I said, the proposals. How many judges do we need? If we say, let's say 10 judges, Gambia would have to propose how many judges they will be providing. Now, even the venue. The community proposal said that it can be held in a third part, it can be held in another country. Which other country? And if you have to hold it in Dakar, that's another negotiations to take part. Dakar have to be prepared for it and orders. Yes, Dakar have already got the legislation cover for a special tribunal because of they tried his and Habre. If it's not Dakar, probably other countries will need to go through parliament to create an legal framework for it to happen. If it is Ghana, probably I'm saying, I don't know of a history of Ghana taking such cases. Dakar have one taken it already, probably Dakar. Now, if that is the case, you see the commitments and all of staffing and other things who come into it, they can delay as much as possible. And if they delay till 2020, the elections, they'll turn around to say that, we cannot hold it in election year. And they'll push it. Now, this is what they want. They don't want to deal with this, but they have to, put this forward because of the international community demands it. US will demand it, other organizations will demand it. Now, ECOWAS will help them to facilitate, to play delaying tactics in order to be looking legitimate and go through elections. If we allow Barrow to stay, after elections, Barrow will pardon them. Likely pardon them. And they will just say, it's the constitution. The president have the powers. And Gambians will be okay with that. This is something they're doing, delaying tactics. This is why I said you have to watch and understand how Dr. Omar Toure will work. Dr. Omar Toure is not working for Gambian interests. He's not working for anybody's interests. He is just confined into how ECOWAS rules. He's more after his party, expense, and other things he's get, and to please Barrow so that he will turn around when he retired or finish this term there, he'll come and continue for Barrow's appointment or to be recommended somewhere else. This is how they operate. They are not for the people. We don't have a sophisticated elites. All they do is what they are not sophisticated to make sure that they will be elites that would progress their country. That's why we are where we are today. This system of funding, I'll explain it further down again, how they manipulate these things. But the delays and so on, this is why Gambians will have to wake up to this. Let me give you another example. Let's move on to the issue with ECOMIC. ECOMIC is the same. And if people that follows me, they will hear I said this before. President Barrow has said that he would not, or he's not comfortable, or he doesn't want to stay if ECOMIC have to leave the country. He said this 2 years ago. 2 years ago. This fact is something we managed to access through the British ambassador, then, from the embassy itself. And how was this narrated? The Gambia National Security Advisor, Abu Jeng, made an expression to the ambassador that, because the ambassador raised, the British ambassador raised, High Commission raised the concerns of economic presence in the Gambia. And the National Security Advisor said, oh, because of the precedent, it's not comfortable, the absence of economic. And he said, okay, and if Jammeh is to be tried, it might destabilize the country. That's why we need economic here. You see, for 2 years ago, they were working on this plan to use the economic presence and the trial of Jammeh, as a cause. Now, let's watch this closely. The Gambia Armed Forces did not do any such of exercise until ECOWAS committed to do an assessment. And they call this exercise Kansala. You see, in any operations, the objective of the operations determine the name of the operation. Now, what was the objective of this operation? To be called Kansala. Operation Desert Storm. Operation, Shock and Awe. Why Kansala? Why Kansala? They're trying to now project the people's mindset again in Fonyi, as if there's so much of danger in Fonyi. Onto Yaya Jammeh, that fear factor again. Preparation, readiness. At this time of the year, and if any exercise is to happen, there's no competent institutions would prepare an operations like this in this time of the year, unless you are in a state of war that you need to do rehearsals for and preparations for contingency planning for an attack or something like that. But they are working on it. But again, they are going to use this to make a case that Gambia is not ready for economic to leave. I'll give you this. I'll point to that later. Now, when they said this, what they're trying to do here is, if Barrow Barrow is trying to cross many bridges in order to determine to stay in power. And one of those bridges is this constitutional amendment, so-called, not so constitutional amendment, so-called draft. I don't call it a draft. Barrow's paper. I call it Barrow's paper that he wants to present as a draft constitution. And if Gambians would admit to accept a Gambia that Supreme Court will always go on due process to rule on technicality, if they would allow an illegal document, because that's illegal, a constitutional draft cannot be presented by the executive. They should not even be meant. They should not even be discussed because it's illegal. The executive cannot propose a constitutional draft. The executive adopts a draft that is proposed by the people and taken to the House to go through the process. That's one bridge they're trying to cross. If you look at it, you see why they want to have that. If they have that, what it will do if Barrow dare to go for election. Two, and I'll talk about the constitution another day, but I'll tell you what, if we allow this, then Barrow will do that he can continue, and if he can steal elections and he can manipulate the elections. This is another test. You think they just jump and do something? They have a process. If we allow this constitution to go through, then Barrow knows that I can manipulate Gambians because I have illegally presented what's supposed to be a draft, and I have gone get away with it and have created a constitution, a Barrow constitution. Because ask yourself why we are not going with the 2020 constitution, because Barrow doesn't want it. Because Barrow doesn't want it. Now, if we go with this, then we go with the constitution Barrow wants, not what Gambian wants. Then if that happened, then Barrow would dare try the other things. That's the two bridges. Now, in order to stay, because Barrow still, he is very scared of the Gambia Armed Forces. That's not me saying it. That's him showing it. Go to State House and see the setup in State House. I'm not going to go through it because there are security reasons. But the setup in State House, go and see how infuriated Gambian soldiers are in their own country, in their own State House. But again, go and look at what happened to Bakau Barracks. You see the ECOWAS here, you see Gambia Armed Forces here. They are not together, they are apart. And guess where? The rifles of the ECOWAS, where are they facing? Fajara Barracks. These are the two main barracks we have, Fajara Barracks and Unum. Go to Unum Barracks. You have ECOWAS here, you have Gambia Armed Forces here. Where are their guns facing Gambian forces? Is that not evidence that the state doesn't trust the armed forces? Why not reform it? You have time to reform. Why not reform it? 7 years. Then the armed forces should not be an excuse. That blame have to be. If you can do it, leave and someone else to do it. You don't put yourself in a hostage situation and want Gambians to live with that hostage situation. You are empowered. They have given everything, but you took a coupis and make it your CDS. That's Mawarcham, the most corrupt individual you can ever find. Since GNA time, people know how corrupt he is. As a platoon commander, he used to embezzle the platoon's fish money at Khartoum. That's how corrupt he is. Now, the presence of ECOWAS now is determined because of Barrow wants them there. I am not saying that ECOWAS should just get up and go. I am not part of that. But if ECOWAS is to go, we need to do a proper review. And from that review, we can determine where ECOWAS goes. But if it is an ECOWAS review, I can tell you it's dodgy review. Let them prove me wrong. It's a dodgy review. It's just to make a case, and I'll tell you why it's a dodgy review. Because of what Barrow created. I'm not saying that we should not trust the armed forces as an institution, but we have our concerns. Then if you do the assessment well, those concerns will be addressed. And I'll tell you one thing again. The best form of insulating a government or sustaining a government is good governance. There is no soldier who is brave enough or stupid enough or cowardly enough to take up a government that is built on a good decision. The people will not accept it. And that's the only way. There's no amount of troops that can protect a government. Go and ask Assad. Go and ask Jammeh. Go and ask other people. Go and ask Macky Sall. It's only good governance. Now the economic presence now is kind of a enabling environment for Barrow to dare. If he gets away with this assessment, they're to dare to run. He's telling he's going to run. He's still contemplating whether he's going to run. That's why I said it's for Gambians to make sure he will not run, because his running what Barrow's running determines is we have failed. Our democracy has failed. Because ECOWAS, again, did you hear ECOWAS said anything about constitutionality, not on the undermine of Gambian democracy by Barrow? Because ECOWAS knew, they were there, how Barrow came about. They knew that by staying a day after 2 terms, you have technically caused yourself to be illegitimate. Because they accepted that for Ouattara, they accepted it for Alpha Condé, and they would have accepted for Macky Sall, they accepted it for Togo, they accepted it for other countries. Because ECOWAS is not an institution fit for purpose. It's the people that should make sure determine this. If Barrow crosses to run, that's it. Barrow would dare to steal election. Barrow would dare to do other things because ECOWAS would be behind him. And the other institutions would be behind him. Just as the Human Rights Commission disgracefully accepting an illegal document and discussing the so-called Barrow proposed draft. How can Barrow have a draft? How can they tell us to negotiate on something illegal? And these are the people that says the due process. If any Gambian tells you to discuss this so-called Barrow draft, question his mental health or his genuinity, either because of it's not being ignorant. No. It's because of you have a vested interest somewhere, somehow, or something is wrong with you. Because if you dare tell Gambians or try to tell Gambians you are not ignorant, you are trying to influence Gambians to take a position, then you should not be ignorant. You know the facts. Why not have what the Gambian people want? That's what a constitution is. And to test it, to take it to them, to approve that, yes, this is what we want. Why starting from Barrow to propose a draft? Barrow cannot propose a draft. Then for the Human Rights Commission just tells you that if you want to rest on Gambian Barrow's institutions, I call them, not any institution, the Ombudsman or even the Supreme Court, for you. We have seen what they do. It's for Gambian people to use that Gambian to push. If it have to take, industrial actions, have to take peaceful demonstrations to make sure we have what we want. It's part of our constitution. They're talking about constitution. Use our constitution then. You think if Pastif sat down to say that they leave it to, it will, Macky Sall will have a third term. And Senegal would have continued to be destabilized. Now, the economic thing here, if you listen to the communique, it said they're sending a mission to assess the financial implications of economic and evaluate current security and political situation. Let me break down this. First, sending a mission to assess the financial implication of economic. Sending a mission. A mission to an institution or an operation that have a recurring cost. ECOWAS have been here 7 years. They know how much it costs. Now, we know what inflations are in the Gambia or what stated as the inflation figures in the Gambia. If you want to check the financial implications, that's easy. You don't need a mission. The Economic Secretariat can give you what they think they will need for next year, another year. You see, they are bringing in situation as if they are going to do, they are doing something competent in order to determine the presence of economic. No. The mission is a formality. Let me give you an example of this. They will always have the money to operate economic because of Barrow wants it. But to what cost is Gambia? You know, economic was sponsored by EU. The EU, European Union. 2017, 2018. I think until 2019, it happens. The SARS affair, I think it's a Greek. EU SARS affair, I think it was a Greek man. Citizen, Greek citizen. Said to a newspaper, I can't remember which, the Point or something. Because he was asking, the EU was asking for a timeline for the departure of economic. Now, because of Barrow doesn't want that, but the persons who feed you can influence you. Now they want to stop EU having that influence to determine when economic leaves the country. They avoid the funding from EU. Then one of these newspapers, I cannot remember which, put it to the Saturday affair that we had that you guys are not funding economic. The Saturday affair said that we have not received a funding request from the ECOWAS Secretariat. We have not received a funding request. The funding was 50 million, I don't know now, 50 million US dollars or 50 million euros. They said they have not received the request. Then it's deliberate that Gambia government with the ECOWAS Secretariat or Economic Secretariat refuse to forward the proposal to EU because EU would negotiate an exit strategy that should happen. They did not want that. What did they do? France stepped in. France stepped in to sponsor, ECOWAS. I'm not sure whether they're still sponsoring, but around 2019, 2020, they were sponsoring. Now, if France give you breakfast, know that you are paying for the lunch and dinner. There's an interest somewhere. Just as that interest, France used to put pressure on the Foreign Affairs Ministry, Tangara, to went and recognize Armenia, the Republic of Armenia. When they did that, the Azerbaijan, who are at war with Armenia, and Turkey, in fact, were very angry. That's why at the time of the COVID, Turkey was really reluctant to assist in certain ways. It took a lot of negotiations for Turkey to use their Antwerp planes to transport the ambulances to the Gambia. But what Azerbaijan did, they pledged for $50 million for the OIC, they withdrew. They withheld it. With other form of support they were going to do because of Gambia went and recognized Armenia, because of France wanted us to recognize Armenia, because of France is supporting Armenia against Turkey. And they are the one trying to bring this case of genocide that happened during the Second World War and First World War against Armenians by Turks, the Ottomans. This is what they do. Now France is sponsoring that. This is why they talk about finance. Now, they said the ECOWAS to evaluate the current security and political situation. Now, this is where the exercise comes in. The current security. Now, they are presenting us, the Gambia Armed Forces are preparing, they're doing, let's give them chance. They just held a joint exercise, or they just, after a joint exercise with Senegal, they have doing independent exercise to see their state of readiness. Guys, the threat they're talking about within the Casamas is minimal or technically eliminated, especially after Pacific coming in. That's another program. I cannot start going into that. It will distract me. That's another program. But they will continue to keep it as a threat. But what does it take? And if we are not able to handle that, then the government have failed. If they admit that they cannot handle any threat along the borders of Casamas, when Senegal are taking care of what is in Casamas, then we have failed. We don't need economic phone. You don't need economic phone. But now, what they're trying to tell you is they are going to evaluate the current security situation. This is why they're telling you we have an military exercise to try to say that we are doing something. We have done our reform. We are doing this. Guys, they will not let the government put an exit strategy. This is exit strategy for ECOWAS. It should start with Gambia independently running their state house to insulate ourselves. What is the point of negotiating with Senegal when they have all the information that they need from us? They can just dictate and win any negotiations we have. It's like playing a poker game and your cards are thrown the other way for your opponent to read, but you cannot see what the opponent has. What is Barrow scared of? Why can't he trust Gambians to be at the State House or run the State House? Because he felt illegitimate. He felt, he felt that he's not delivering. He doesn't have confidence because of his poor governance. The other bit now is political situation. Political situation. Again, the ECOWAS proposed a mission to come, and the mission is not here yet. The mission might not be here in December. The mission has not been in January, might be in February. I'm telling Gambians, especially the opposition, to be very careful. Barrow might provoke them. Barrow might provoke the opposition in order to create tension to justify that the situation, political situation is not. Just as they did with the false flag, went and shoot. They were not intending. I'll tell you this. When we had the intelligence and shared, the people thought we were crazy. They were not intending to kill the police officers. Whoever they contracted, that's a trained service personnel. In order to shoot and just injure, the first person they shot at, in fact, I think was the Jallo guy. Is it Jallo? Yes, Jallo guy. And then, because of he messed up, he had to shoot the others and run. And we all had from the next, not the next day, within an hour, NPP spokespeople and strategists started to point the blame, and they had a long thing of trying to put it onto UDP. It was a false flag. It was around that time that PASTEF was dissolved, and they want to try the same thing. That's why I said be very careful. That party Jallo. Because of, we all know why party. Is it party? Because of the UDP had confrontation at the Banjul at these things, and they want to say, oh, because of that, they mistaken identity, they went for this wrong person. If a government would callously go and do something like that, be careful with that government. They will manufacture a false flag again for the political situation, for the security situation. Don't allow that. But again, as I said, the financial is, if they want it financed, it will be financed. 50 million, 60 million, they will get that easily, but it will still cost Gambia. We know when they wanted to steal our money to buy cars, they did it. But they do anything what they want. But the implications here, as I said, is we have to be very careful. Gambia, we have to be careful. Especially the opposition, especially moral Gambians. Let's come together. And again, let me emphasize when I say let's come together, because when you say, well, let's come together, Gambians are thinking of elections. Elections are not yet. There's something that comes before elections. The opposition and moral Gambians should work together to ensure that we have the good governance. We have a competent democracy, so that we have trust, competence in our elections. During the course of going to elections, it doesn't take much to negotiate for a coalition. What it takes is to win confidence. What it takes to use leverage. These are the two things. To build a coalition, you have a leverage. Then you know how to use that leverage to win the confidence and build a coalition. That's all it takes. But the most difficult and most important part of this is make sure the elections are. Because if you don't have a competent democracy, you might be destabilized. Life might be lost. We don't need that. We don't need people to go out to, no, we can, if you are composed right, I can tell you the government will not even try. If you are composed right, the government will not try. Work together. The issue, I said this the other day, the government have already put the knife on IEC. We've all seen that. By pulling IEC to say that we're going to deal with your audit report. You'll not hear anything about it again until the government decide whether they're going to pull it this way or they're going to pull it the other way. Or they're going to leave the knife there. And I can tell you, if the opposition is that incompetent to allow that knife to stay there or no decision taken, that is holding a gun onto the IEC at the time of elections. If the government allowed IEC just to be slaughtered and thrown away and reinvent whatever they want, it's like presenting the worst of the devil. The ghost of the devil will come onto us, the ghost. At least the devil, you can see it. If you can see the devil, you would rather deal with the devil than the ghost. They are going to compose the worst form of IEC. I should not even call it IEC. I should be EC, Electoral Commission, because it's not independent. These are things that we need to deal with now. Electoral reform, the credibility of democracy. This constitution needed to be dealt with. As I said, if he gets away with this constitution, what else? He will move on. Guys, in a nutshell, yeah, it's gone just over 1 hour. That's how I wanted. Yeah, a brief, it was an important issue to discourse, and I said I'll discuss it in English. I've already done in Wolof with AU radios. I wanted to, share it for those who did not have access to hear it before, or those who might not comprehend Wolof very well. Thank you very much, and we'll have another session, and wishing all my Christian families a very Merry Christmas, and all those other Gambians that observe or celebrate Christmas a very happy holidays. Thank you very much, guys. Have a good evening. Thank you.